Welcome back to How to Be a Better DM, the official podcast of monsters.rent. I'm Justin Lewis.
And I'm Tanner Wayland.
And we are here to help you tell better stories for yourself and your players as you dungeon master sessions of D&D, Dungeons & Dragons. We'd like to give you some quick announcements. We actually have one before the show, and then after the show, if you want to stick around, we have some more announcements then as well. But first, let's talk about this. Tired of being alone? Are you tired of not having any of your players understand you? Are you tired of never truly belonging? Well, you're in luck. All you need to do is join the Guild. The Guild is a unique and exclusive experience that is only open to Dungeon Masters. It is a full community focused on helping ease your DMing burdens. Want to meet other DMs? Join the Guild. Want to discuss your homebrew ideas with people who would appreciate it instead of just telling your cat? Join the Guild. Want to find a place where all your wildest dreams will come true? Join the Guild. Go to monsters.rent/guild and sign up today for free. Wait, that can't be right. Chuck, can you check this again? Is this supposed to be... What? Oh, they're serious? It's free? Oh, okay. All right. Yes, go to monsters.rent/guild and sign up today for free, even though they are crazy for giving this away for free. Common side effects may include burping, sneezing, laughing, breathing, hearing, listening, tasting, farting, critting, sarcasm, and in extreme cases, explosive diarrhea. Awesome. With that out of the way, we can get into today's show. You look down the walls of the keep. This castle was constructed as an outpost of the kingdom. No one travels this far north, certainly not invading armies. The people of this land were more accustomed to marauders rather than martial campaigns. Your eyes take in the scene. You can see a numberless horde of nightmarish creatures on the horizon. You recognize creatures here and there, but most seem literally drawn from some sort of nightmare realm. They seem unintelligent monsters, though they stand arrayed as if in battle formation. Among the throng, you spot dozens of larger monsters that could bite a man in half with little effort. Horns issue haunting moans echoing across the landscape of twisted monsters. You've never seen an army this large in all your years of fighting in the army. Trappers and explorers started bringing back reports of these large numbers of monsters coming from the north. You weren't aware of any settlements north of here. All that was left was ice, tundra, and the frozen wastes that made up the crown of the world. Where had all these beasts come from? Maybe more importantly, why were they here? As if to answer your question, a final horn blared its mournful tone. The sound lasted for seconds before it abruptly cut off, and the monsters charged at one. It seems the Battle of the Grey North has begun. What would you like to do? Welcome back to the 9th episode of How to Be a Better DM. We're going to learn how to tell better, more engaging stories while you dungeon master a session of D&D 5e. I'm excited to give you today's show, but before we do, let me give another quick shout out to Couchy Audio. They do the audio work for this show, and if you need any help with audio work, they are the ones to talk to. So reach out to them on Instagram by sending a DM or a direct message to @KAHOOTAZ, and they'd be able to help you out. Also, I just want to say thank you for all of those who have reached out to me talking about the show. It's really fun getting to know all the DMs out there having their individual experiences, so keep it up. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of using minis during your Dungeons & Dragons sessions. I know this is going to be a very polarizing topic, but let's dig in because you want to have as much fun as possible. And I want to help you have as much fun as possible. So let's get rid of the bullcrap and get down to business. So the pros. Number one, having minis is easier to imagine combat. When you DM, you can either use minis to represent the relative distances of characters and adversaries, or you can use the theater of the mind. With the theater of the mind, things are a lot more loosey-goosey. I always seem to struggle with questions like, how far away am I? Or where exactly is so-and-so? And stuff like that. With minis, though, it's all on the board or table, and it's a lot easier to manage. Often, when I listen to YouTubers live playing D&D, I lose track of combat positions during encounters where they use Theater of the Mind. Having it on a board is much easier, and this goes for digital representations as well. Number 2, the second pro, it's more immersive. There's no denying that when you see the combat happening, it's easier to immerse yourself in the encounter. It's much easier to relax, just have fun, because you're not having to keep track of distances, positions, and really kind of go all beautiful mind on the encounter. Also, when the DM adds in cool effects or scenery, it really makes you feel like you're there, and that makes it a lot more fun. So number 3 is you can create that wow factor. I've seen it on my players, and I've also seen it on YouTubers when they bring out their awesome maps, I guess you could call them. When you make that scene that you've described and you present it to the players, even in a not professional or perfect way, somewhat shoddy, there's a definite wow factor. It's like the icing on the cake of playing D&D, because this game is all about trying to transport you into the world that we've created. The 4th pro is that it builds authority in your players' eyes. In a way, you as the DM are the group's true leader. As such, they will look to you to lead them, and you have to earn their trust. This happens naturally because you are the main storyteller, so they're constantly looking to you, but your players also want to know that you are the best DM in the world. Like the placebo effect, it makes the game more interesting even if it's not. Even if your story's not that great, if your players think you are an amazing DM, they will enjoy it more. This isn't to say you need to lie or anything, but having things that add to your authority as the best DM in the world is always better. And I know it's kind of a shortcut, because having minis doesn't mean squat. Anyone can buy minis. But it does give the perception of preparation, especially if your minis are matched to the encounter. And as you become more proficient as a DM, and frankly, you decide to invest more in the hobby, you can buy specific DMs for specific adventures. But there's no denying it. When you have minis prepared for the encounter, your players view you as a more authoritative DM. So those are the pros. Number 1, it's easier to imagine combat. Number 2, it makes it more immersive. Number 3, you create that wow factor. Number 4, it builds authority in your players' eyes. Now let's talk about the cons. Number 1, obviously the biggest one is it costs extra. Having minis costs extra, even if you use a banana and you draw a face on it. You have to put in extra time and extra money to have that banana or other minis and have enough of them. That's in my episode where I talked about all you really need to play D&D. Minis were not a necessity. You can play without them, and you can have lots of fun. Being able to play without minis means that in this digital age, you can play anywhere with barely a moment's notice. Just download the right apps, get the people where they need to be, and you can play. Not having to worry about minis can save you a lot of time and money, not to mention the fact that a lot of the players might not want to buy their own mini, so you'll probably have to provide one for them. Number 2, more things to manage. As the DM, you are the one lugging all the things to wherever you and your group plays. If you are fortunate enough that you play at your own house, then you still have to find the right minis and set them up and put them away and make sure everything's in the right place. It's a lot to manage, especially because you're writing down things, you're keeping track of things, trying to get the right voices, all the things. Even during the session, you have to make sure the minis are in the right spots, whereas your players only have to manage their one mini, or maybe they have a zombie that they've resurrected or whatever. So 2. Number 3, it's a gateway drug, and obviously it's not a drug, but you know what I mean. Minis can get out of hand really fast. There are so many minis. If you know you have low self-control when it comes to buying $4 to $10 items, then you should stay away from them, because you could literally spend your college money, your college fund, or your inheritance, or there's just so many things you can buy. There are thousands of different monsters to fight. And there's more coming out all the time, and different softwares to create new minis. You will probably never have all the minis, not to mention perfect battle scenes or scenery items. So you can spend a lot of money on this hobby if you're not careful. That is one of the biggest cons, I'd say, is that you want to buy one, but that specific monster usually only goes for specific encounters. And you got to have the right monster for the right encounter, right? Number 4, you don't practice your narrative skills. Let's be honest. Using a mini is a crutch, plain and simple. By using minis, you rely more on visuals than on your skills of narration or storytelling. That means you aren't flexing a very important skill that will enhance your sessions and make your stories come alive. If you can't get people to feel you are there with just your words, then you've got a long way to go to being a master dungeon master. I mean, we all have all seen movies, not to bag on Transformers, but Transformers, all the Transformers after number 1, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many there are, rely mostly on visual effects rather than storytelling, rather than good storytelling. And we all know it. And those movies aren't really classics. They're not amazing movies. So the same thing with minis. If you have minis, generally you rely on using the minis rather than having a great storytelling skill. So those are the cons. Number 1, it costs extra. Number 2, it's more things to manage. Number 3, it's a gateway drug. Number 4, you don't practice your narrative skills. I am not here to tell you whether or not to use minis. That's not my job. Instead, I want to arm you with the right tools and, more importantly, the right knowledge of the drawbacks, the advantages of using minis, so that way you can use them in the right moment. Maybe during an epic boss scene, you have the boss, right? And you've set up the scene. That might be a great place to use minis. Maybe an impromptu encounter doesn't necessarily need minis. You can have just as much fun without them. So my advice is that you learn how to do both, so that way you can use the right tool. It's just like a handyman. You want all the tools in your tool belt rather than just a hammer. So there you have it, guys, the pros and cons of using minis in your D&D sessions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have other suggestions? Send your thoughts to me on Instagram in a private message to @GeronimoLevis, GeronimoLevis. Also, I am looking for a new piece of cover art for the podcast. If you have any ideas, send them to @GeronimoLevis on Instagram. And even if we don't choose you, I will shout you out and put it up on my Instagram, because I love seeing stuff like that. So thank you guys for listening to today's episode. Make sure you give us a rating and review. But until next time, let's roll initiative. Thank you for listening to today's show. We really appreciate your support and your patronage. We have a few more announcements to go over. First,
did you ever fall in love with the library as a kid? It was a place where you could experience 1,000 stories without having to buy 1,000 books. That is what Monsters.rent can do for your D&D campaign. You can rent and swap out as many quality miniature monsters and creatures for your D&D party as you could ever want, without having to buy them. You can rescue villagers from a kobold camp, or lead your party through the fighting forest, or many more adventures. We're coming out with new bundles all the time. Just sign up for our subscription to get access to your own personal library of minis. Go to monsters.rent to find out more. That's the website. Monsters, with an S, .rent. Get your library pass to a world of minis today.
We also wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Stardust and Dragons. I'm going to let one of the cast of Stardust and Dragons, Christian Hatcher, and his crew tell you a little bit more about it.
This August, a new adventure podcast is coming to a platform near you, filled with action.
Shoot one of the two of them. We can't keep taking hits like that.
Drama.
Everything that she's been doing, everything she's going to do, finally sets in.
And Stardust.
Help! Help! Someone, please!
Find out more about this epic odyssey at stardustanddragons.com, where adventure awaits in the stars.
That's all the announcements we have today. Again, thank you so much for everything you do for us. You make this show possible. Like we said before, We'll be back next week with another great episode, and until then, let's go ahead and roll initiative.